get done. Hey!
So good afternoon again, and welcome to the third appointment with the virtual reality and the Meet the XR Creative Live project coordinated by Antonio Giacomin. Welcome again, Antonio. How are you?
Fine. Third day today, and we have a huge and very interesting project for our XR community.
That's it. Actually, in the past few days, we met Valentina Paggiarin, development manager at Hive Division, and yesterday we had Bojana Radulovic and Maria Vukic from Beldox Academy. And today we continue our discussion with two guests that will present Mind the Brain, the Lumière Award-winning work in 2020, Kathrin Brunner. Hi, welcome.
Ciao.
And Oliver Czeslik. Hi, welcome, and thank you for being here. So, and like every day, I remind you that you can follow the festival, the Trieste Film Festival, on mymovies.it, where you can find more than 50 movies and special events. And for all the sidebar events like this one, you can follow the festival page on Facebook and YouTube. So I leave now Antonio to lead today's meeting. And if you want to ask questions and interact with Kathrin and Oliver, don't be shy. Leave questions and comments below. So thank you again and enjoy the meeting and see you later.
Thank you, Carolina. Kathrin and Oliver, welcome to the Trieste Film Festival. You are today present. We met 2 years ago, I remember, when your project was at the first stage. It was still an idea, it was still a concept, but with some real setup, with some tests already done. But in 1 year and a half, in these 2 years, you made a huge jump into the creation of your experience. So I know that you prepared a presentation, so I leave you the stage so I can share the slides. And but before we start, I would like to ask you how was the process of creating? Where came the idea? From where came the idea of creating something like that? Kathrin or Oliver?
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was not only one idea. It's a sum of a whole events and stories, and of course a lifetime. So my interest was always narration. And leaving normative forms of structured narration in order to give the so-called audience in theaters or movies more freedom. And I failed very often in the theater because the structures are so narrow-minded. And so I had a personal experience, which was a stroke 4 years ago, which drove me inside something which is absolutely beyond every point of structured narratives. That's one point. And the other point is Kathrin's story. Kathrin?
Yeah, so yes, I think what you need to understand is we are also married. So it was on the one hand side, really what we basically experience with Oliver's stroke is how different the brain can work, but also how beautiful it can reconnect. It has neuroplasticity, and it can reorganize everything. So it was first, of course, a very difficult experience, but then also a very beautiful experience and a positive experience to see what's possible and how we can basically regenerate just by connecting you. What we think is also a very beautiful metaphor for many things that I think everyone at the moment experiences, that we need to grow together again, between the countries, between the world, between everyone, that we are now so very separated. I personally come from developing video on demand portals for 20 years. So I've been in the process of selling films in a different way. And after 20 years, that finally has been a mass market, something that we hope that VR is soon. In 2015, I had developed my first 360 video for Discovery. I was in the management team of Discovery in Germany. And there they started very early to look into that. That was a tractor pulling movie. But they had experts in the US that are very, very good in coaching people on how to produce in 360. And then when I left Discovery, I took that interest with me and discovered more and more XR works also on festivals. And what basically came to my mind is that this is actually a very exciting time in history, because we know how to tell stories on film for the past 100 years. Just the trailer that we've just been seeing with all the kisses shows how much of a rich language we have, and everyone knows this language. But we don't know the language in XR, and we don't know how we will tell stories in XR. And at the moment, we're just writing and inventing the rules. And as Oliver comes from narration and comes from writing, I actually thought that must be a very, very interesting area also for him. And I was really trying to drag him into it, and, because narration has always been his interest. And so basically two things came together. We wanted to basically tell more about really the beauty of the brain. And the brain is actually the ultimate narrator. It's the one that tells really all the stories. And that was the starting point about 2 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So before we go in the real presentation where you share with us your experience in creating this neuroreactive VR experience and installation, I would like to show the teaser that you have for the project. So let's start with the teaser.
Okay, thank you. Antonio, I don't think that was the right one, but anyhow, it's fine that we saw this one because it's a longer one. We have a shorter one, which is our official trailer now. And this one was a rough cut trailer, but it's quite good for starting as a conversation point because you see more stations here of what we are doing in our experience. So what you have seen so far, as I told you before, we want to lead you step by step through different stations of the brain spaces. And in the end, hopefully, we land you, we lead you right inside your own poetic space. We call it poetic room, which is a space of your personal subconscious. And Kathrin will later explain how we come to that point, which is quite complicated from the technological side. So, but as we had that before, because you were asking this, so Kathrin, how did we come up with a theme on the brain? I mean, this is a bit crazy.
Yes. So we've been talking about it, and the idea is really that the brain is the ultimate narrator. Apart from all the personal experience that you already and the personal past that led us to this that we've been already talking about. And what we wanted to do is not only show and be informative about the brain, but also to have everyone or have everyone that can experience Mind the Brain a new impression on and also a different approach on getting to know the brain. And this is why we are working with neurofeedback. So not only do you basically travel through and have a journey through the brain and through images of the brain that we got from scientific images, we can also feel your brain because the person that is in the central row in the installation has a brain interface on and can interact with the VR experience also with his or her brainwaves.
I shared the slides, so if you want to say to go further. But one question, just you mentioned something that the audience, the viewer, the person that experiences your installation shares their emotions, thoughts, what shares with us or with the installation, which is the element that the installation and this neuroreactive VR experience record and share with us.
Yeah, there's two ways of answering it. Oliver, do you want to start?
Well, yeah, we have to go on with our presentation because there we can explain it. Yes,
okay,
we have several steps by guiding you much nearer to your own neurosensitive images of what is inside you. And before that, we wanted to point out that how did we come there to come to a point of deregulation beyond traditional narrative structures and of course beyond storytelling, because it's not about storytelling and selling products via storytelling anymore. It's about yourself. And because of having disability, a dysfunction of my brain, I wondered how craftful, how powerful it is, and how much beauty, but also how much nightmares are there inside. And we don't know about this power in normal life. So we tried to get a lot of people, specialists, more than 20 people from science, from art, from the tech freaks, in order to get something very crazy, that you can step inside your own narration, and we just create the architecture for you. We give you the tools by your hand in order to create your own narration, and it's not from the outside, it's from the inside.
And we will later tell you more what exactly you are sharing when we come to that part in the presentation where we explain what we're doing. But first of all, let's introduce ourselves a little bit, because that's where we're here on the beginning slide. We're Milestone Productions. So we're actually a new kind of production company. We do production, we also do consulting, but our topic is the future of generation. And as you see, we produce virtual reality. We also produce social media, we produce events. So there's a whole area, but we really specialized on how everything that has to do with what you formerly called storytelling now enters into a new world. We also see that at the core of all kinds of new production companies is really now a tech stack. So is really basically setting up knowledge and also setting up new technologies. And so what was Mind to Brain, what we specialized on is what's called neuroreactive virtual reality, which means that we create an interaction between neurofeedback, also with body feedback, and the VR. And as we said, Antonio, your question we'll be answering a bit later, what exactly you will be sharing. And there's also several ways to answer that, because on the one hand side, it's the VR installation itself, where you're actually really sharing basically the brainwaves, a status of your mind, which is not a thought. And on the other hand side, we're trying to bridge that individual experience with a collective experience in the way we set up the installation. And in that, we have people also talking and sharing their experience. And so there you share much more of your thoughts.
Yeah, but Kathrin, please tell us first a bit more about the team, about the core team at least, our Bavarian team for Mind the Brain.
So Antonio, the next slide.
Yes, thank you.
So that's the core team. There's many more people that were involved. Oliver and me, you've seen already. Fred Kellerman is our director. He's really a legend in the art house film sector. He's been the DOP on the Turin horse, which was acquired by MoMA. It's Bela Tar's very, very interesting work on Nietzsche's horse. So he also has a whole list of awards. It's too many to mention, and he's a member of the Oscar Academy. He also won the highest German film prize with his own works, and there's retrospectives of him at the Tate Modern. So he's very much actually into avant-garde and black and white film. So it was for him the first time to be basically going into virtual reality and working with virtual cameras where you don't even have a camera anymore. So it was a very interesting ride. The sound comes from little Carsten Fischer. We have a virtual sound that is also spatial. So there was a lot of effort that went into this. And Nilto is a real expert in ambisonics. So we basically have a long journey on us also in not only creating spaces that through Fred's eyes make those scientific images also something where you feel the beauty and you feel the grandeur of the brain, but you also, through the sound, for example, we start with the cathedral of the brain, you can feel how large it is. Then we have Tobias Heiler, who's from Brain Boost. So these are our partners for this, where they have about 100 patients every week that do neurofeedback. Some of them also in VR, and we use their technology and their software as a basis to create our interaction. Daniel Lichtenstern is our Unity developer who also develops with Brain Boost. So he's the one that really made the interaction happen. Sebastian Esposito is our 3D artist who created the beautiful large spaces. Mark Herrmann also, he's also a scientific consultant. He works with the Human Brain Project also very much, and they are also our partners on making the scientific background of the brain exact. So those very avant-gardistic and very fantasy looking pictures that you see are actually all based on scientific pictures. And last but not least, we have Juliane Fuchs, and my light here turned off, so I'll have to put it on again soon. Juliane Fuchs comes from Bauhaus University, and she is the one that worked with us on the concept of the black box, which is the installation concept that we use. So, and now, Oliver, we take the next one, and I'm hopping one. We have to.
Okay. I'll let you turn on the light. Okay.
So you can see here, Antonio and everybody else. This is just the core team. We had a lot of partners as well from the Forschungszentrum Jülich. They were the first ones we asked for scientific advice. And for those fantastic supercomputing brain models, which are the newest ones in the worldwide at the moment. And so we had a lot of great images to deal with and to put it into an artistic way. And so the getting together all those teams took a long time. And to be honest, we had no money in the beginning, and nobody trusted us that this idea would be reality, so-called reality, one day. And and in the end, we had last year, 2020, our production year for Mind the Brain, a funding from Bavaria coming, FFF, which was really fantastic. But I hand over to Kathrin.
Yeah, so the Filmfernsehen for Bayern funded us, and you'll hear later a bit more about the journey that we took. We worked with a system basically that is more based on how you would develop software. We worked with open labs. We early went to see also a lot of people that were not producers or creators to get involved in how we do this experience. And now basically we just have the final version ready.
So Kathrin, but I think Antonio is waiting, especially for this question. How does it work? You know,
yeah.
What is a BCI first of all?
You are reading my brain, my mind.
Yeah. So maybe we go to the next slide.
I'm reading you. Yes. So maybe we go into a more precise description of the experience.
Yeah. So what you see is it's really a poetic journey through the world of your brain. And basically, Antonio, if you go to the next slide, we start with what we call the cathedral of the brain. You just had a glimpse of that. So a very large room, which is actually derived from models of the connectomies, they're called models of the connections inside the brain. You end up, after an intro that is very much a very philosophical way of entering into the experience. It's like a tunnel, and people see many things in it. A tunnel with a light at the end, so I think everyone has already an idea of what we're referring to. Then you end up in the cathedral of the brain that really, we build artificial camera systems to guide you on that journey. And then the first neuroreactive interaction that you have is you end up in what we call the color lake. So a very beautiful lake of different colors, which really represents the outside world. And there we start working with basically the steady that neurofeedback gives you, which is we can basically see if somebody is more on the verge of relaxing, or if you're starting to focus, if you're starting to get nervous. And in the color lake, we basically sense for the first time the status that the person with the brain interface is in, and you end up in a different area, you end up taking a different path in that interaction. It brings you up or down. After going through what we call the foyers, where you also basically now have to find your way through, you end up in what we call the microscopic room. And the microscopic room is, this is where you see the picture on the left-hand side, is really a gigantic world, which is represents the neurons. And not only that you see and fly through the connections of the neurons that are really based on artificial models. You also basically see an animation of how the electrical currents run through these neurons, and what you basically get to realize is you are controlling this with the brain interface. So basically what you see here is that little light that comes through, and you can control the speed of the light with basically relaxing or getting more active. And the way that neurofeedback works is it's really like, a body tracker or a smartwatch that also gives you, for example, a more detailed sense of how your heart rate goes. And it's something that many people don't really realize in their everyday life, if they're more relaxed and which ones of their brainwaves are more active. But for example, animals can sense it. Our dog can sense it. When I'm in a more relaxed state, he can sense it very much. When I walk with him, it's different than when I'm in a more excited state. And the brain interface reacts to that. And this is what we basically make visible. We use it either for bringing you up or down, or really for animating. And in the last part, in the poetic room, what we call BCI, animated procedural image generation, you use that function that if you focus, basically we are using that to create images, and you see them clearly if you are able to focus. And if you don't focus, you more see, and those images are archetypes. So we have a very, very interesting interaction. You've seen in the trailer, there's this baby, the embryo. And for example, we have the case a lot if women or other people have not such a good relationship to that archetypical image, often they don't see it. I see it because the image becomes clearer and clearer the more you start to focus. But sometimes people have a negative reaction towards that. And before the whole image starts to really build up, the image is already gone. So that's a very interesting way.
So if you try to control, you lose it, right?
Yes. And Antonio,
that's very important.
If you go to the next slide, then basically, yes, here you see again that basically we have these three types of neuroreactive interactions, and you see a little bit how it works here. This is what we call the anima, the picture that you see here. So you see we worked with the particle systems of unity to generate these shapes. So the shapes are there, and they basically float, and you see different ones. But whether you'll be able to see those shapes, that is dependent on the brain interface. And when we do the installation in the room, that also gets a very, very interesting interaction, because, of course, if there's more people in the room, that also influences the person with the brain interface. So, Antonio, do you have any questions for us on that? Or is that understandable what we're doing there? Antonio?
We lost him somehow.
No, here I am. I was talking, but I was muted with my mic. Okay, no, I had one question about the computer-brain interface. So you put this interface on the head of the person that will make this journey inside his brain. But how is this? You mentioned before that if you think on that, you just lose your connection. So you are floating inside this this flow of mind, of thinking. You are not like, okay, I have to think that the color have to be red or white, but you just have to follow your. And I'm back on in the previous question. Follow the senses, follow the emotions. What I'm following inside the experience.
Well, that's a good question, Antonio, because our task was to create, as I mentioned in the beginning, several steps, and as we are used to consume stories or theater plays or movies, we have to get rid of this consuming step by step in order to get nearer to yourself, to your own, and to trust yourself, which is a task. And we get on by this with a lot of technology and with art, of course, and images. But in the end, our goal is that it's up to you. And the more you lose control, you don't want to control these things, the better it will be, and the clearer the images will appear in front of your interviews. Those are built up upon the theories of C.G. Jung, and the archetypes, and those archetypes, there are a lot of them in this pool. We call it it's a poetic pool of images, and they morph and they become individual places and spaces of your own. So,
what is really important to know is that how neurofeedback works is it's not a one-on-one interaction. People come with the expectation that it's like a game, and you do this and this happens. But what neurofeedback actually does, it measures different stati that your brain is in. If you're more relaxed, there's other brain waves and other frequencies of brain waves inside your brain than if you're focused or if you're super focused or if you're sleeping. These are the alpha, beta, gamma waves. Brain Boost could hold a complete talk about that. And the very interesting part, and also the philosophically interesting part, is these states of your mind can be measurable, and you usually don't know them. So this is why it's so hard to talk about them and to explain it to a person that doesn't work with it. But what happens is those stati are there before agency, before you do anything. Usually, every kind of interaction that we have in games or in virtual reality is you have a conscious action and something reacts. Here we have an interaction that is actually not a conscious thing. You don't think, now I'm going to focus, and then you start to see things. That doesn't work that way, because already the process of getting yourself basically under, for example, under stress, to say, oh, I'm so stressed, I need to make this happen. Then the brain interface reacts in a different way. You wouldn't focus, you would relax, you're stressed, and that shows it. So this is why this gets to such a very, very interesting form of interaction, because it actually doesn't work the way that we know interaction at the moment, where you stress yourself. And if we are in social media, or if we are in any kind of digital media at the moment, basically, a lot of the interaction optimization works with that. If you look on Facebook, or if you look on any kind of digital advertising, it works a lot with making your brain addictive and getting you to click on something. And it works with the part of your brain that has gratification. So if you look at a lot of the words on digital advertisement, their wording are like that. If you click on this, you'll get a reward. And this is why basically get almost like addicted also to a lot of social media, because your reward system inside your brain is in constant overdrive. And what we're doing here is actually different, because we're working with a level of basically the workings of your brain that is before that. And only if you start to relax, and if you start to focus, and if you really give yourself into that experience, you're starting to see things. And that is an experience, people that do a lot of meditation usually can do that very well. We have people that can do it very well that never did meditation. They're just able to focus very well. And then we have people that actually are not very good at it. And also, even if they do some meditation, they take a long time, and that's why neurofeedback is a program. In the medical side, for example, this is used to give people more knowledge on HDHS. You have children that get trainings in neurofeedback that can get rid of medication if they do that properly, because they learn to control that constant drive that keeps you doing things. that keeps you on Facebook or Twitter, that keeps you clicking. That constant drive, you can control it better. And if you control that better, you can also interact better with our poetic room. So that's the kind of interaction. Very hard to describe, and we really hope we can show it to you very soon.
I remember I tried the very first edition, the very first demo. Yes. That was 2 years ago. And I had a question about this differences between the person that are used to meditate or the person that and this feedback, this biofeedback from different persons. Did you saw or try to find out a sort of pattern, like this type of persons are reacting in, well, the system is reacting in this way with this type of persons, or in a different way with other type of persons?
It's more specific. Every person has a very unique brain pattern. So the brain waves that we're using with the neurofeedback actually look like sound waves. You can imagine them like sound waves in different frequencies. And every person has very, very unique frequencies, and even each person in a different state of the day is already very different. If we have Antonio in the morning, awake, very focused, is a very different brain pattern than if we would have you in the evening after 2 beers. Then already you would have a very different way that your brain reacts to things. So the software that we use from BrainBoost, they use a lot of mechanisms to basically work with these kind of individualities, and we work a lot with relative areas, so how things happen. So it's not an absolute thing. There's not one absolute frequency that you're about to range and reach. It works more with your individual progress through the experience, and we take algorithms to basically smooth everything out. Yeah.
And there's no judgment, so we don't want to judge. We could do it, of course. We could scale it somehow, but we don't want to do it because everybody is special and has a very individual experience here. This is the unique thing we are trying to create, and it's an ongoing thing because it never stops as technology is growing fast and faster. Also, our experience will grow. I'm pretty sure about that, and the possibilities.
But you can also recreate like this situation, like to train the person to be more relaxed or not. So
of course, you could do that, and our partners from BrainBoost are doing this. They are working with that, as Kathrin mentioned. But this is not our goal. Our goal is here a more artistic approach to something we call the future of narration. So 2020 was something we could all not think of. So everything changed. What we called reality before was now turned into a totally different reality. What if we try to think in those ways also from the inner side? So there are a lot of questions about those themes.
And it's very playful. Actually, what happens is people really like it because they can really play with what's happening.
From an artistic point of view, Oliver, can we define like a narration of our deep self, the installation?
Can you say that again, please?
A narration of our deep self. So that story that come out is a print of our ourselves, of our journey through inside us.
Yes, a journey Well, yes, but it has the goal, and that's why I use the line, the best script is finished when it is destroyed. So also this project, it's at best when it is destroyed. We have no goals anymore. We don't want you to do this or think this and experience it like that, and we don't want to judge about it. The only thing is, we want to give you some power of freedom to get back to yourself and to get some connections to something which is lying underneath your trained, conditioned way of working, of living, of being in society and cultural structures and so on and so on. And that was the thing, what happened to me with a stroke. So because of my dysfunction, I had nothing like that anymore. And in the beginning, it was really hard. And I don't want anybody to experience that. But after that, you can also say it's something which gave me the possibility of imagination and of finding out what could be possible without a dysfunction, without a disability, without drugs and so on. And if we know that, we can do a lot. Also for society, it's also, I think it's very political. This theme about open systems and closed systems. So the brain is a very, very open system, which can be a great example for the future.
Mm-hmm. And in a way, also, Antonio.
To continue, just one sentence more. So we don't want to educate or to teach, nothing like that. Art should never do that.
Mm-hmm. But another way to answer your question, Antonio, is the journey that you make through. You start with an intro that starts really pitch black, which had some. In the first demos, we had a funny reaction because it was so dark, and then you enter the world of basically the neural connections. You enter the colors. You enter the neurons, and in the end, in the poetic room, you really enter into the immaterial space of your thoughts. So also in that case, it's actually true that it's kind of a journey that brings you from the abstract, from the material, to the immaterial, to the thoughts and everything that is basically out there, that is not based on what comes sort of below. If you go through the neurons, then you end up in atoms, and it gets smaller and smaller, and then you end up in that poetic room, which is actually the space of your inner self, yes, and of your thoughts and the realization of that.
This is something we all experienced in 2020, and I hope it will will stop soon, and we can show it to you. No, not show. You can experience. We don't want to show. We don't have audiences anymore. We don't have users and stuff like that. We don't use those terms. But so I hope, hopefully, everybody can experience the full installation from spring or summer on. And yeah, Kathrin, what are the next steps? Where is it possible to experience that?
I wanted just before the next steps, I wanted to ask you technically how it's built. So if you can describe technically and how is the process of I saw that you have some slides on the installation. How it's
if you go to the slide before, we had that short video, Antonio. Maybe you can.
I showed the video. Just 1 second.
Fire the neurons.
Fire the neurons, yeah.
Okay, let's go. Fire the neurons.
Yeah. So, einfach nochmal ruhig, gerade ausschauen.
Okay.
Yeah, very short. But what you can see in the video is we have VR glasses. We use an Oculus Rift. And we use a medical grade brain interface underneath. You can also see it here on the right-hand side in the picture. The white glasses are Windows Mixed Reality. And what you see on basically like little antennas is actually the brain interface. We use the medical grade brain interface with wet neuron that are really basically taped onto your head, because that gives a much clearer signal. There's a lot of noise because, of course, the brain is inside the skull, and the skull is basically also having an influence on how the brainwaves go through. And we went through a path that's there's much easier brain interfaces, but there you basically more measure a lot of the muscular activity in the face. And we wanted to concentrate more on the that it's really just the status of your brain that's in there. And so how did we work? We went through a long process of open labs where we tried the VR, also projected the VR, and also had people trying a lot with brain interfaces, because we wanted to get a feeling of what people actually can control and how they control it. And then we took a lot of workshops to bring those two technologies together. And yeah, it's been a lot of testing and I would say it's a very agile approach, not a classical film production approach where you have basically a script and you start following it, but we really basically went through different layers and always refined a lot on how this interaction works.
You define here that it's a shared experience. So how was the feeling of the people outside the VR? So how was the reaction? How was the interest and the concentration on the? Because normally, you talk or you just watch. How was the reaction of the audience outside the VR?
Yeah, we can only speak about the demo you've seen in Venice. Because we did a projection into the physical spaces, as you can see it here, and so people gathered. And before that, we made an introduction, and we tried to choose the so-called chosen one by accident. So who is going to step inside his own narration box, the black box, which is based on theories of Kazimir Malevich, a painter, a Russian painter, very first abstract painting, fantastic one, and the Kaaba as well. So this is a space of concentration of yourself and of your beliefs and confessions and misbeliefs, maybe, I don't know. And the people gathering around as a collective, they are not part of an audience. They are more visitors. They are walking around and standing inside, an art product, which is coming live out of the brain of a person. And so there's a process between the collective and the chosen one as well, and it will be reflected in those projections.
Mm-hmm. So
go ahead.
Yeah. So we have an 8-step model for the installation in a room. Basically, there's 3 versions. There is a version that even works without neurofeedback that you can try on an Oculus Rift, where you just basically have an emulated brain. So it's basically like watching somebody else's brainwaves, but we actually do produce emulated brainwaves inside Unity for that experience. Then we have what we call a mini installation that's just you and the brain interface and VR glasses. And then we have the full installation, and this one has been tried in open labs, and we hope to have a premiere as soon as everything opens up again, also with the complete VR installation. And the pictures that you see on the left have been from VR Days Amsterdam, where we already tested that 8-step model with a demo. It was not the 30-minute VR experience that we have at the moment. It was a much shorter experience with first interactions. And there we had these 8 steps. So we bring people, we make an introduction, we choose who gets the VR glasses on. You see, we explain. You see, Tupac Matir was one of our contestants. You see him basically with the brain interface. Then he was inside the box, the black box, and his experience gets projected into the room. everyone experiences that together. And in the last step, what you see in the picture on the right upper corner is that we then bring the person with the brain interface and everyone together again, and we share our experiences. And we had very positive feedback on that. We had labs where 70-year-olds went home and got their wives to come back. It's interesting because there's a very diverse audience interested in that. It goes from young people that say, wow, that's just like Black Mirror, up to 70, 80-year-old people that, of course, have a strong interest in the brain because they feel it's changing or because they know a lot of people around them that have Alzheimer's. Of course, we have people that have an interest from the artistic side. We also had a lot of interest from people that work with neurology, from nurses, from doctors. So actually, we see there's a very, very wide group of people that gets fascinated by it and that likes it. Yeah.
And we have a question from the audience following us, and is asking, are there any connection with the new quantum brain studies?
The people at Forschungszentrum Jülich, some of the models that we build upon, sorry, it's getting dark again here. They are built on supercomputers. This is where they calculate the connections between the brains. And exactly, basically on those same supercomputers, what they do as well is have the quantum brain models. Yeah. Here you can see all the different open labs that we've been through. So basically, there's no direct connection between our work and quantum theory, but the people that we're working with are already also working on these same concepts. Yeah.
I think this is the last one. No. Okay, this is the part of development. Hope to see your. Yeah, this is. I was thinking yesterday when I was preparing the slides. I stopped here and I start just to think. The script is finished when it's destroyed. You already explained it, but it's very somehow scary for some persons to destroy the script. What do you think, Oliver?
Yeah, why not scary? Come on. Life is scary. It's risky. Come on. No, but to reach out for perfection, you have to destroy it. I'm pretty sure about that. So storytelling is all about selling products, and I'm not interested in selling products. I want you I want to bring you nearer to your own narration and to your freedom of narration, and this cannot be throughout a script or product. And so we don't want you to be a user or a consumer or an audience. You are a co-creator in our experience.
Well, interesting point of view. And let's say, yeah, these are all the contacts. I put also in the banner the website where our audience can watch all your progress in the. This is the production company that produces the work. Hope to see you in just switch to the other view. Okay, I'm back. Well, thank you for this journey into the brain. It was very interesting and very. I'm so sad that we cannot try it at Trieste Film Festival because due to this pandemic situation. But we'll try to have you the next year with the installation. But which are the next steps of your installation?
This year, Antonio. This year.
Yes.
Well, the next the Trieste Film Festival will be the next year, so it's 2022.
Yeah. Okay, so but besides of that.
Yeah, this year, yeah, obviously, yeah. No, which are your next steps with the project? Are you evolving with a new ideas, or implementing with other stuff or paths or ideas?
Kathrin?
Yeah, so for Mind the Brain, the next step, of course, is to have a premiere, and we're working on that, and the first one will hopefully be in Munich. Has to be in the summer. Nobody knows when we can really make exhibitions again. We're looking for of course, other spaces as well. We are open to present in various film festivals also that are digital, because we have this version that works without the brain interface. And for sure, if we have the next big festival here is the European Film Market at Berlinale. They don't have a VR section, but if it's possible for anyone to be in Berlin during that time, we'll for sure make presentations here in Berlin. Yeah, and then of course we're working on our next projects. We are cooperating with Transforms AI, that they work on artificially intelligent creatures and systems. Basically, we want to further look into that connection between the brain interface and VR as a means of basically understanding better what digital presence is like. We think that also all sorts of social VR platforms are highly interesting now in these times where we can't meet and where we could also meet in a different way. This is our one interest, is to make that available and to work more on the creativity and on the creative side, with also body feedback and neurofeedback and VR. And on the other side, we are very interested in the interaction with animals, because as we say, we think that animals use these kind of properties that we have, all these signals that we send out in communication, that you can measure with neurofeedback and body feedback. For example, a dog senses very much of the heart rate of his owner. And so that is one of the next projects, and Oliver will be able to tell you more about the project, is that we basically want to use with these, and yes, and want to understand more about how animals feel and how animals interact.
Wow, incredible project, very interesting, very challenging also, because I think it's very difficult to get in contact also with the animals and understand another way of thinking. Well, it's not thinking, but another way of another consciousness of living inside this strange world we are living now, in this almost science fiction type of a situation. So, Kathrin and Oliver, thank you to be with us at the Trieste Film Festival. Hope to see you live and to experience and to create your experience. I connect. I not want to be a part of the audience, a user, but I want to experience and to create your experience. Thank you to be at the Trieste Film Festival, to be our guests. And tomorrow we'll have the first Italian group that they will talk their experience about the creating of a VR experience during the Biennale College VR. So thank you, Oliver.
Thank you for having us.
Grazie. Speriamo
Grazie.
di venire a Trieste.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.